guys, we almost got lost over there to the scenic route, and we almost went over to the state back and put our way back on track.
We made it at Niagara, and he's gonna be playing 1-3 as we're gonna go do a little bit of a walk around, and I'll show you guys the falls and all the fun stuff. So see you in a bit. Hey guys, so before going into my 1-2, 1-3 and 2-5 kilo session, I thought I'd go for a little bit of a scenic walk and show you a little bit of Niagara Falls if you guys haven't seen it. If you're out in Germany or somewhere about in Europe, maybe in the United States, or just somewhere else. Maybe you're in the East Coast, West Coast, maybe you're in the Philippines and you're watching this. I thank you guys for watching. There's a little bit of a fountain view right there. And you probably are going to be able to hear the falls. It's pretty loud, a lot of energy coming through that thing. We got the Crown right behind us, and although that tree's kind of blocking the casino, as we walk around, we got the casino in the background right over there. That's where we're going to be playing our 2-5 and our 1-2 no limit hold'em. And when you feel like taking a breather and relaxing a little bit, you know, coming out here before or after a session is always just super relaxing. So if you want, you know, you can grab a seat, one of these benches here, and just kind of hang and think about life, think about poker, think about making some money, but all in all, just think about having fun, because really that's what this game is kind of about for most people. And if you're playing just for the money, you know, you're not really playing the game for what it's really worth. I mean, the whole core of the game is to have fun. So if you're out there just to try to print money and get angry and all the time, and I'm just going on a little bit of a rant here, but I really just want to show you guys the casino and everything that's around. What's cool is that right behind me, there's some people taking a bunch of prom pictures, which is pretty sweet. I actually saw them standing outside the Hard Rock, so there they are right there. I thought for a second they were getting married, but then I realized all the colorful dresses, and I'm like, oh, that is definitely prom. So I'm gonna be doing a little bit of, I'm gonna be doing less talking here and more walking and showing you. So let's go for a tour. So there's a little bit of taste of what Niagara Falls looks like. And actually, if you want, I'm gonna spin around and I will show you Fallsview Casino, where they play the bigger stakes. They play the 2-5 there. They sometimes play PLO. There it is, right in the background, right there. There's a Skyline Tower as well. Skylon, sorry. Let's see if I can point to it right over there. That's where Fallsview is. So if we're gonna play a 5-10 session, we're probably gonna play it over there. And they also got PLO running. And right behind us, that's the American side, guys. That's the American side of the falls. Let's get a better view. Go right over here. Pretty sweet, eh? So if you're not playing poker, this is definitely something that you could do. It's touristy, it's refreshing, it smells so good. And if you really want to have a magnified view, check one of these babies out. I think I've tried that maybe once. I don't know how much it costs now, maybe $2. I'll check for you. So it looks like the rate is $1. I don't think it's changed. I paid $1 one time. And it's worth it, I guess. I don't even remember if they're any good. I think I might have put in the $1 and it probably just took it, didn't even open up or anything, because the little eye socket thing is all locked up. And when you put it in, it's supposed to flip it up. But I don't even know how good the magnification is. Might as well just buy your own pair of goggles, or binoculars, sorry. Goggles, thinking of swimming. You know, Niagara Falls, you go for a swim. Probably don't want to swim along that. Oh, what is cool is, I think they've recently put this in because I haven't seen it before. But they got zip lining, guys. Look at this. I'll go get a better view. Uh-oh, the gates are opened. I think this is gonna be crazy. Yeah, you definitely do not want to tip over that. Yeah, so if you're ever feeling adventurous and you're coming down to Fallsview, I guess maybe you could try the zip liner. I don't know if I'm ever gonna do it because I wouldn't say I'm terrified of heights because I've flown in airplanes before, but I don't know. I guess it's just not really my thing. Same thing with skydiving. I probably wouldn't get into skydiving just because it's, you know, if something goes wrong, it's like, it's certain death. If you're on a roller coaster or something like that, then at least if it gets stuck, I'm still strapped to a chair. So anyway, we're gonna be walking back to the casino now and finally get our hands in. All right, guys, I thought I'd stop by and show you another shot of the falls right behind us, right before we cross the street. And look what we got. We got more prom people coming. See? Everyone's out having a good time. Come down to the falls, guys, if you're gonna grind some poker. I'm gonna walk over. while we wait here to cross the street, we got more prom queens and kings right behind us. Look at that. Everybody's taking a picture there. It's funny, I heard the girl telling him to work it. That's pretty funny.
You're by yourself or by yourself?
How often that was?
This is Clifton Hill. This is where they got pretty much like all the attractions, the haunted house and all that fun stuff. So if you want to go down, check that out. That's a fun street. We're gonna be going down to the casino now. So no more diversions. We're gonna do the grind. We're gonna play hard. And we're gonna play some 2-5 hopefully. They haven't started any 2-5 games because we checked in. And I guess for now we gotta stick around and play the 1-3 and see kind of how that goes. Want to check out some live music? They're right outside Hard Rock. It's probably playing till like maybe the evening or something, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. I don't know if they alternate and stuff, but anyways, if you need some entertainment, they got some live bands around, bunch of bars everywhere. I don't want to say just bars, but they got Starbucks right around us. They got everything, anything you need, right here. You guys are wondering, you can't film cards inside, so that's why you can't see the cards. Alright guys, so we just wrapped up our session at Casino Niagara, and we actually ended up playing 2-5 this time. We didn't have to wait around for 1-2 because they were just opening up at 2-5, so we were able to hop in right away. Unfortunately, it's been a pretty hard session for us. We're getting chiseled down. I mean, like losing a couple bucks here, a couple bucks there. We're down about $500 right now, and I just decided to take a little break, go for a little stroll, and talk about a few hands. So let's sit down right over here. We've been playing short-handed since it started, so it just opened, and actually this entire session has been short-handed. I think the biggest we've got was about 7-handed. That's the most that we've played, but I got no problem. I'm pretty well versed in 6-handed and short-handed games. We were even playing 4-handed at one point. Alright guys, so it's our third hand in, I think, of our 2-5 session, and we wake up with Jack-9 of diamonds on the button. It's a straddled pot, and everybody decides to call along to me. At this point, I mean, I could try to squeeze up the pot, but I mean, we just started this session. We don't really know too much about our opponents. We don't have too many reads, so I just felt like taking the less the conservative route, and I ended up flatting there, taking a flop. It's good as a multi-way pot hand, so there's no issue there, and we could definitely play in position and potentially try to flop diamond draws, or straight draw or pair, maybe combo draw. The small blind and the big blind check, and it's 6 way to the flop. So there's 60 bucks in there, and it's Queen Jack 3 with 2 spades. Everybody checks to the cutoff, and the cutoff has been pretty active his first like 2 hands. He's been raising and betting, and he decides to bet that flop. He bets 45 into 60, which I feel is kind of like he's trying to steal the pot there. I think most of the time he's betting flush draws. He's probably going to bet a straight draw if he has a hand like 10-9, which is very possible. Although we do block some 10-9 combinations because we have a 9 in our hand. He could be doing this with a lot of flush draws, I think, or potentially just air balls or gut shots sometimes. So we decide to call because we're in position. We do have a backdoor flush draw to go with it, and we have a second pair, which I feel is pretty good. It's going to be pretty hard for our opponent to bet 3 streets. If he bets a turn again, it's going to be pretty hard unless the turn is like a flush card or something like that. I can't see him betting the turn twice. Anyways, there's just many opportunities here for him to either check the turn or bet it, and then we can decide on what that means. Anyways, it gets folded around and it's heads up to the turn. And the turn is a 3. It's a 4 offsuit, 4 clubs. And our opponent taps the table kind of like an open check type thing. Now that kind of leads me to believe that he was weak on the flop, and he's just looking to get a free river card. So we can't check here to let him get there if he's got a flush draw, which I think if he's checking here, he's just trying to get there for free. Probably got a weak flush draw, and we got a better hand here, and then if a flush comes on the river, then we pretty much got to fold or just check it behind. So we're gonna bet close to 100. I decided to bet 95, which is just about half pot, just a little under half pot. And our opponent calls pretty fast, doesn't think too much about it, and the river is a 10 of clubs. He checks pretty quick, and no reason to do anything else here. I mean, he could have a weak queen, so we can't be really getting that much value. He could have a better jack, and we just checked behind. And he had 2 pair, he had 3-4 spades. So yeah, that's not a good start. We're down like about 200 bucks right off the hop. Anyway, what can you do? We got to continue playing and see what the next hand brings. So the game has been pretty slow for the most part. Nobody's really been raising too much or getting out of line, or building huge pots or anything like that. So it's been pretty snug game. And we wake up with 5-4 of clubs. It's a straddle pot, still 5-handed, I believe. The straddler has about $150, $160 left. And it gets folded to us. We decide to flat here instead of raise, because I feel like if we raise to 30, it gives him a good opportunity to just shove with a lot of his hands that he might decide to just check, or maybe min raise or something like that, or just, not do anything too crazy. It ends up folding around and the straddler checks. And at this point, the flop is like king, queen, rag, and he checks to us, and we just throw 10 bucks and he folds. So that was a pretty easy pickup. And same thing happens 2 or 3 hands later. We ended up in a raise situation. Folds around to us. I think we are on the cutoff, and we raise ace jack offsuit, and the straddler completes, and the flop is like 4-4-3 or something like that, and our opponent checks to us, and we bet 30 bucks, and he folds. So that was pretty easy pickings, I think. 2 easy hands right there, kind of like similar c-betting, and we didn't really flop much at all, but we had position, and guys, position's pretty important, so when you have it, feel free to bet. I mean, most of the time we are going to be ahead there with that ace jack hand, but hey, it doesn't hurt to fold out some equity. our opponent could turn something like a 7 or an 8 if he's got like 7-8 or something like that. So might as well fold or get him to fold. So that's what we did. Okay, so I think I'm gonna kind of wrap it up and leave you with a pretty interesting hand where a bunch of different things happen. So we got a short stack player, which has been hovering, around the 150 to the 200. Started with a 500, so he's been kind of like all over the place. Anyways, at this point, he's got about 150. And this was the same opponent that we were in with the Ace-Jack and with the 5-4 of clubs. So kind of have, I guess, a little bit of history, although we've only been playing for about maybe an hour or so. Anyway, we ended up having 8-6 of clubs, and this hand actually was not straddled. Our opponent raises to 25 from the cutoff, and the button decides to call, and the button has about 600. We got 600. Well, we actually have about like 700, but anyways, we're 600 effective, and we got the 150 from the cutoff. So it's 150, 600, 600. We see a flop with 8-6. So the flop ends up coming 6-6-10 with 2 hearts. I think that's a pretty good flop. Anyways, what do we got to do? A guy short stacked, I feel like there's a bet coming for sure. There's pretty much like no doubt. So we got to check here with our trip 6s, and sure enough, our opponent does bet $50 on the flop, and he's left with about 75 right now. And we get the button, who decides to kind of like do a little bit of a fury call, and he calls the $50. And at this point, we don't want to scare anybody out of the pot, because I feel the short stack there is most likely going to shove on the turn. So you might as well see a good turn card and hope to check raise on the turn. I think that's our ultimate plan. So we'll see what happens. So anyways, we decide to call there with our 6-8, and we see a turn card. The turn is a deuce of diamonds. So now there are 2 flush draws out there and a total brick on the turn. So I don't think we can ask for a better card. I mean, the best card would have been like a 6 to give us, a locked hand, but can't always get a full house. So we decide to check again and hope that our opponent bets. And of course, he shoves his last 75. And we hope that the button calls too, which he does. And at this point, the pot's already pretty big, and our opponent has about 500 or so left behind. So it puts us in a pretty weird spot, because we don't want to call again, and we don't want to raise too small to give our opponent that could potentially have turned flush draw. He could have had the flush draw on the flop with hearts. And there's obviously gut shots out there as well. Maybe he might call with a 10. Don't think that he has 6. Obviously, we got a 6. So pretty much have the nuts. So I think we got to raise here, because I don't think that he's ever going to call a big river bet. Or if he's got a draw, we have to try to get all the money in here on the turn if we can. Because it's most likely going to go check on the river, since we got the third guy that's all in. So there's no way to bluff him. And at this point, I decided to go to 425 and put in about pot size betting. And our opponent is pretty mad about us, because he's kind of like furious. So at this point, I figure he's probably got a 10 or something. We didn't know that he had a 10 until he showed a little bit of anger towards that spot. So anyways, he does fold. He fury folds, and like, we're pretty much crushing the guy that's all in, and the river is a 5 of diamonds. And I'm like, dude, I got a 6. I'm thinking I'm good, right? And he's like, I got a flush, I rivered you. I'm like, oh man, good thing it was for like only $150, so that wasn't too bad. But he rolls over 8-9 of diamonds, so he had a gut shot on the flop, which he decided to fire. and he turned the diamond draw. You know, what can you do? You can't always win them. I'm gonna go back inside and don't know if I'm gonna record any more hands because I think it's gonna get too dark. But you know, we'll see if I can turn this thing around. We're down about 500, which is about a buy-in. So good thing is this 2.5 is deep, so we can buy it for about $1,000, and hopefully the game continues to straddle along, and you know, we can get a big pot. Hopefully win 1 or 2 pots. That'd be nice. You know, comment. I'd like to hear what you guys think. If you like the format, if you like what you saw there earlier, if you like the scenery, I hope that I got some good footage for you guys. I'd like, subscribe. I'll make a bunch more of these for you guys. So
I'm curious what you think about this hand.
all right, guys, so we're just standing here outside of the Hard Rock Casino Niagara, and I just finished my 2.5 session. Kind of dragged on. I played a little 1-3 and that didn't go too well while I was waiting to get back onto the 2.5 after I took that break. Luckily enough, I was able to break even, so that's always good. But we got my brother in the background who made some money playing 1-3, and we're staking him, so it was a profitable night for both of us. But anyways, you want to talk about one hand? I already did a few hands earlier on, and I'm kind of tired about talking about my hands. So let's hear what he has to say.
I mean, the reason why I did this move before going into it is because I knew like there was history behind some of the guys that I was with at the table, especially the guy to the right of me. He would only play hard if he had a good hand or if he nailed something on the flop.
Basically, he's straightforward. Yeah, doesn't do anything overly complicated. Pretty much ABC, and bets his strong hands hard. Yeah, and pretty much like folds all his missed hands, and just, you know, kind of lets you have an idea of what he has all the time.
And the newcomer who I was playing with for about an hour is pretty much the same kind of dude. And so basically the action goes this. I had queens. They're limps. There are limps that go all the way around to him. He bets strong. He bets about 25. And so I'm looking at queens, and obviously I'm going to push it to 70.
Okay, because queens is the third best hand in the deck. So you got to, you know, and hold them, you got to bump it up with that hand.
Yeah. And so I bump it to 70, and this dude who's been playing tight for an hour, straightforward, pushes over the top all in. He just goes way all in.
Okay, so basically we get a guy that cold 4 bets $240 all in after he's been super tight the entire night.
Yeah. And the guy to the right of me pushes all in for 620, or whatever it was, 600, 620.
Do you realize how big the pot just got right now?
Yeah.
If he makes this call, the pot's gonna be like
I'm stacked.
over. It's $1,500 or something like that, right? So, you know, this is a 1-3 game, guys. Remember, it's a 1-3, and we're about to have a 1.5K pot.
Yeah.
All right. So what goes down after this?
And so obviously I'm thinking like these two guys who don't really first of all, they just don't get into big pots. That's the main thing. Whether or not they raise, whether or not they take down pots, they take down medium pots, $50 pots. So now they're both all in. I fold it.
Guys, you hear that? He folds queens, the third best hand in Hold'em.
Yep. And guy to the right of me who had the 620. Yeah, it turns out he had aces. Guy to the left of me who was tight for an hour. He had kings. I mean, it's not necessarily... It seemed like a pretty logical fold in the moment for me anyway, like speaking it out. But when you feel it out and you know those players, like it just makes sense. It's not... Queens are as good as jacks. Like...
Yeah, queens are pretty much like dead in the water.
Even an ace-king suited is not a coin flip that I'm willing on risking with two guys in the pot.
Put it this way: in a situation like that, even if we have a hand like kings, even kings is pretty much like no good in that spot. right? Even kings, like
That's tricky. See, I would have done it with kings.
Well, the thing is, especially when the guy shoves $600, right? You got to keep in mind that you're playing 1-3. A guy's not going to shove $600 that he worked pretty hard for.
Yeah.
Right? He's not shoving $600 there.
Yeah.
Over the top. After another guy goes all in, you know, he's pretty much always has aces.
I mean, that's what it was because
protect it.
I mean, if the guy to the right of me didn't go over the top all in, obviously I would have called him because I had him stacked, and like the dude on the left, like I knew he would have been strong, but best bet was he had ace king suited. I still would have made that call probably, but not with the guy to the right.
Anyways, guys, moral of the story is you just gotta fold your hands sometimes. You gotta be disciplined and know when to make the right move. All right?
Oh, yeah.
So,
Make some money.
okay, all right. So what happens on the flop, turn, river? What are the cards that come out?
On that guy?
What was the board? Yeah,
Oh,
come
man,
on.
the board.
The viewers want to know
Oh,
what.
dude.
The viewers want to know.
The board was
What came
3
out?
king 3 with 3 king 4, 3 king 4, 3 king 5. Anyway, it was king low low, and the low cards gave a flush. Doesn't matter because the guy didn't even have a flush to pair with aces. He got busted. I didn't hit a queen. I was gone. I didn't hit a queen.
That's pretty gross. Did you make the flush though?
No.
No. Okay.
No, I didn't have I didn't have the proper flush.
All right. So he made the right fold, guys, because you know what? If he would have made a flush with queens, that would have been a bad fold. You realize that? It would have been a terrible fold if he would have won that pot. Because then he would have won like a $1,500 pot with queens.
It's always 20/20 hindsight.
Yeah.
You lose, you fold it, but you win the big pots after a good fold. You're like, I should have called, but you made the good fold.
You made the good fold.
That's all that really matters.
All right. So good news is we made some money. I pretty much broke even, and we're gonna see what tomorrow brings because we're staying here in Niagara for the night.
Yeah.
All right. So guys, like, subscribe. Please feel free to comment, and you know that little Taco Bell icon, click that because that sends you the notification when new videos come out. So feel free to come out to Casino Niagara, guys. All right, have a good night.